Alright, so it is Saturday, February 27, 2016. Another Q&A session. So if you're new to my channel, this is the first time you're watching this. So every Saturday I have a big Q&A session like this, where Monday's video, Ask Yoon's video, I answer all the questions in that video on a video response like this. Okay, and sometimes throughout the week I might feature it in a question of the day video, and so I might feature some of the questions that way. So the reason why I do that, I only answer, make a video response on the Monday's video, because it's easier for me to see all the questions in one video. Because in a typical day, I get right about 25 to 30 questions in a day, and in a week I could post up to 20 videos. And instead of searching and scavenging 30 videos, it's easier for me to see one video of all the questions. Okay, so if you have any questions, please wait for Monday's Q&A, Monday's Ask Yoon video. All right. So today's question, first question comes from Magtech Blue, asking me about the claustrophobia test that you would go through, or if you would go through that for submarines. So now I tried my best to get some information online and asking some people. So my best recommendation is ask Ginger Sailor. You probably know him by now. I'll put a link down in the description of his channel. He is actually, I believe he's in sub school right now. So he is the guy that's going to be in the submarines. So he would be the best source of information for you. All right. So next question comes from future sailor Scroggins, asking me about describe a typical Sunday in boot camp. So a Sunday, you have what's called holiday routine, which is considered a free time. However, it's not free time because there's a routine to it. Because you have to shine your boots, you have to write letters, you have to make your bed, you take shower. It's an extended shower compared to on the weekdays. Because on the weekdays, it's typically 15 minutes. You're in and you're out after PT. But on Sundays, it's going to be less crowded because you have a lot of time when people can shower at their own free will. And also you do your bed, you clean your bed, and also iron your clothes. So there's certain stuff that you can only do. So what I said, those are typically the only stuff that you can do and nothing more. So you can't like PT on your own time, go to the gym and work out by yourself or on your own. So none of that. You only have certain stuff that you can only do. All right, so maybe it's studying, maybe it's reading, but no sleeping. All right. So he future sales Scroggins also asks, as an E2, if you pay for a GI Bill and also $100 each month on phone bill, can you still save $1,000 each month? So what I forgot to mention in my previous video about finance, like I said before, you get right about $1,300 round up each month. Okay, but what I didn't mention is I also pay for the Montgomery GI Bill. So realistically, it's $1,400 each month. So yes, as an E2, you should be able to save $1,000 each month, assuming that you don't go over the $400 estimated amount of extra income. All right. So next question comes from future sailor Alvarez, asking me about how do you go about the process of taking leave when you are in the fleet. So the process that you would take and how I took it is you would first talk to your chain of command. So whether it be your third class, second class, or your first class, or your chief petty officer, you would say, hey, chief, I would like to take leave. So how would I start this process? And they're going to guide you through you would route what's called a chit, which is just a fancy word for like paperwork. And it's all computerized. So you would say name and what day you're taking leave, what time, like duration, whether it be like 10 days, and who you need to get approval form from, and also where you're going, and why, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty easy, simple process, and you would just wait until it gets approved. So once it gets approved, then you're good to go on that day. All right, so next question comes from future sailor Jones, and on what to do on deployments. So I do not have a lot of experience on deployments because number one, I haven't been on a deployment yet. But let me share with you what I can tell you from my experience. I mean, not my experience, but from my opinion. Okay, so I believe it's going to differ from if you're on a small ship to if you're on a big ship like a carrier. Because on a carrier, you know, they have the MWR, which is the moral welfare recreation, and you know, different stuff like MWR. I know you're able to check out DVDs, you're able to check out DVD players, and they're going to have, you know, different things for you to be entertained. And also a carrier would have different events, and it's a big ship, so they also have big recreational facilities like a bigger gym compared to like a frigate, where, you know, when I was talking with my friends, there's not a lot of stuff to do on a frigate, and it's very, very wobbly, right, compared to a carrier, which is big, so you don't really tilt a lot unless it's like a heavy sea weather. So what I recommend is ask JT Suits. Link to his channel down below. JT Suits, you probably know him by now. He's a veteran. He did his time, and now he's making a lot of YouTube videos. So I recommend you check out his videos. He has a good couple of videos on deployment. So that's what I recommend. Ask him and tell him that I sent you. All right. So next question comes from future sailor Belmonte. Asks about which job should I take in electrical field or air. So I can recommend two things. Number one, talk to a Navy veteran. Okay, someone in what I can recommend who did 20 years, because they would have a thorough knowledge of, you know, in their opinion, what's better, what's good for your personality. And I know, I mean, you can talk to a recruiter, but sometimes I feel that recruiters don't know a whole lot. You know, they try their best, they try to get the best information for you, they try to paint the best picture for you, but in my opinion, sometimes it could be very favored towards one rate that they have to fill the numbers for. So my best recommendation is ask a veteran who's, you know, recently gotten out. So someone who did the 20, or, you know, like I said before, ask JT. He was air rate. I don't know I forgot exactly which air rate he was, but he would be a good source of information in terms of which rate to pick in terms of air. All right. So next question comes from future sailor Torres, asking me about, can you re-enlist after your contract is up? So let's say you did your 4 years. So after a year or two, can you re-enlist? So last time I heard, which was like this week, yes, you can. All right. So next question comes from future sailor Bennett. Future sailor Bennett asks, hot water, do you get hot water in boot camp? Yes. So it's not the what you would first imagine boot camp to be, you know, all cold water. You would go in and you would freeze and you would come back out. In Navy boot camp, yeah, you do get hot water, so it gets pretty hot. But there were some days, I would say throughout my whole boot camp experience, I would say maybe out of the 60 days, I would say about 10 days there were cold waters because the hot water system was down. But for the most part, hot water won't be a problem. All right, so next question comes from Portart, I think. So, can you study to become a doctor while still doing aviation machinists? Or do you have to file that cool program? So I checked it out, and in the cool program, it asks, it tells you to be like a corpsman. But in terms of schooling, right, you can be whatever you want as a rate, but you can still take the tuition assistance and study whatever you want. So being a doctor obviously is something that you have to go through in terms of school. So from what I can see, the cool program, I mean, I guess being an corpsman is going to give you some type of credit in terms of the medical field. So link down in the description down below into corpsman. He's a YouTuber, corpsman's channel. It's like DWK videos. I forgot his name. I think it was Dawkins. But he's a corpsman, and he has a very good knowledge of, you know, what type of way you can, what type of path you can go in terms of if you want to pursue medical profession after your Navy career. So what I can share with you is it doesn't really matter what rate you choose, because you can still take whatever classes you want. All right. So next question comes from future sailor Moreno, asking me about how can you use free time in the Navy. So your free time in terms of, is there a gym? Can you bring your electronics and all that kind of stuff? So every ship is going to have a gym facility in some way or form. If it's a small ship, it might be just one bar hanging by itself, and you have to do a lot of pull-ups from what I hear. But if it's on a carrier, obviously there's a huge gym facility. But in terms of what can you do, how can you use your free time? I will make a future talk about this, so I might forget. Always just remind me on how you can best use your free time. So just real quick, I would say if you want to maximize your Navy experience, the best way you can use your free time is to pursue something else that you truly want. Okay, so while you're, for example, for me, let's say, I'm doing my 5 years as logistics specialist, right? I'm doing my part, I'm doing my time, I'm doing my service, I'm doing my job. At the same time, I'm pursuing other things that fulfill me, that I want to do, that I truly want to do after my Navy life, right? So I would say when you are in the Navy, take advantage of all the free time that you get to pursue that other goal, that goal that's going to make you happy, that goal that's going to give you satisfaction, give you fulfillment in life. Right? So, for example, as you can see, I make a lot of YouTube videos, right? So that's one of the things that I like to do. I like to help a lot of people as much as I can, right? At the same time, I am in service, right? So, next question comes from future sailor Figueroa, I think. So, should you take eye exam before boot camp or after boot camp? So I can't really truly say. Future sailor Figueroa. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right, but what I always best recommend is to take care of anything before boot camp. So you have to make that decision on your own. Talk to your recruiter, talk to your parents, and then make an educated decision on whether or not you should do it or not. But my best recommendation is take care of anything personal related before you join boot camp. It's just going to be an easier way that way, in my opinion. All right, so next question comes from future sailor Carrillo, asking about AO rates. Have I worked with any? So I have worked with a lot of AOs, aviation ordnance people, and the most interesting thing is I've met 3 AOs, and they're all females, and from what I know, they really, really like being an AO. So that's really all I know about that. All right, so next question, also comes from future sailor Carrillo, asking me about Undes. What do I know about Undes? So I can talk to you about 2 things. So number one, I talked to a lot of my friends who were at one point Undeads. Now they struck rate, and one of the most common thing that they tell me is it takes a good amount of time, a year to 2 years, to strike a rate. At least it was for them. And also, they do a lot of odd end jobs, and they didn't really enjoy the time that they had being in Undeads. So that's what I can share with you in terms of what my friends experienced being in Undes. All right, so next question comes from future sailor Scroggins again, and asking me about my opinion on deployment. So, like I said before, I haven't been on a deployment, so I can't really truly say. But in my opinion, deployment is in my opinion, it's going to be a wonderful experience that everyone has to, or everyone should go through when they're in the Navy. It might be a very challenging time. It might be a very difficult time. But the best thing is it's a new experience, right? It's a once in a lifetime experience. You know, not a lot of people, not a lot of normal people can go on a deployment for 3, 4, 5, or 6 months at a time, or even 9 months, right? So, you know, I'm personally looking forward to deployment. I know it's going to be, you know, challenging. I know I don't know exactly what to expect, but I know for sure by the end of my deployment, you know, I will come out as much better person, much more refined person in terms of Navy life, number one, and also, you know, my personal life and how much I would know about myself in terms of feedback analysis. All right, so next question comes from future sailor Garcia asking me about Asvab tips. So what are some of my Asvab tips? So let me share with you what I did in terms of how I studied for the Asvab before I took it. So number one, there are practice tests online that you can just get a general idea of how the test is going to be. It's not going to look exactly like the test, but you can get a general idea. So if you've ever taken SAT before when you were in high school, I would say it's a very similar process to that. And also buy a book at Barnes and Nobles. So I got a book at Barnes and Nobles. I just looked through it. I looked through it and I just looked through, all right, you know, there's this type of information, there's this type of information, and I just returned it. So I just studied a lot of those topics. At the same time, give yourself a good amount of time to study for that. So I would say give yourself at least 60 days and study every single day. If you're not a very study person, just maybe study 15 minutes a day on first week and then increase it to 20 minutes second week. So increase it until it hits an hour, right? At the same time, let's say you took your first ASVAB, it didn't go too well as you expected, as you wanted to, and you didn't strike the rate that you wanted, right? So what you can do is you can retake the ASVAB exactly 1 month later of when you took the first one. Okay, so you have to definitely make sure that you let your recruiter know. You make sure you let the liaison know, because after you take the test, you know, they might tell you, hey, all right, hey, based on your ASVAB score, you know, these are the jobs that you can get. So make that person know exactly what your intentions are. So if you are not satisfied with your ASVAB score and you want to retake it, make sure you tell them that, hey, I don't care what you say, I'm going to retake it, right? Or if you say, I guess so, I'll accept this job, I'll accept that job. So, all right, make sure your intentions are known. All right, so next and last question comes from TheBeautyCadet asking me about camera and editing software that I personally use. So, in terms of camera, obviously I have my iPhone 5C, and editing software, I don't really use a lot of editing software. Okay, I know how to edit. I know, you know, which editing software works for me. I know all that kind of information, all that kind of field, because I've been making YouTube videos for a long time. But I personally, the reason why I don't edit, the reason why I don't invest in, you know, high quality camera is the fact that I just wanted to prove something, that a lot of people, when they first start YouTube, or, you know, they've been doing YouTube for a while, they think they need to invest in, you know, $3,000 camera, $300 camera, $500 camera, or the latest computer, the latest Apple computer, the latest editing software. If you're starting out on social media, if you're starting out on, you know, YouTube or whatever, just focus on one thing, you know, and go simple. You don't need to invest $1,000 into cameras and editing softwares when you don't really know what to do. Okay, that's the biggest problem that I learned from when I first started my YouTube channel, like, you know, like 7 years ago when YouTube first came out. You know, I thought that way too. But if you look at this now, if you look at my YouTube channel now, I only have my iPhone, and I just post videos, and sometimes I'll put in music that's available, free editing that's available in YouTube, right? But you can already see I almost have a 2,000 followers, right? I know a lot of information. I know exactly what I'm doing. A lot of people complain that I post a lot, you know, too many videos. But the fact is, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly why I'm doing it. I know it's a lot of things that for me it's a secret that I'm not going to share, because it took me a lot of time and I spent a lot of money obtaining this knowledge, that for me to share, honestly, for me to share what I know in terms of how to grow your social media, my channel, I'm not saying this to brag, but my channel, if you just look at the numbers, it's one of the fastest growing channels right now in terms of, talking about Navy and all that kind of stuff. For me to share with people with what I know, it's unfair to me in terms of that aspect, because I spend a lot of time and money into obtaining the knowledge that I have, and I'm just experimenting stuff here and there, which right now, in my opinion, I'm not producing enough. I'm just doing the bare minimum. But for me to share with people what I know, I should charge people money for my information. So that is it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great Navy day.